Good evening, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. A few minutes, sir. Session is going to start.
Yes.
Good morning, sir. Principal.
Good morning, Mr. Ganesh.
Shall we start, sir?
Yes.
Yes,
Please
sir.
go.
Good morning, everyone. We extend a hearty welcome to all the participants, presenters, guests who have joined us today virtually from different parts of the world. We welcome you all for this edition of International Conference on Smart Technologies and Applications 2022. Ramco Institute of Technology has taken this excellent initiative, paving way to have intellectual and scientific deliberation, enabling the delegates to present their innovative and creative ideas virtually from their place of work. This conference has received an overwhelming response from participants across the world, presenting their scientific research papers today and tomorrow. Let's all rise for the invocation, Tamil Thaivalthu.
நீராறும் கடலொடுத்த நிலமடந்தை எழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டமெதில் எக்கணமும் அதிர்ச்சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Thank you. RIT is led by a dynamic principal, Dr. L. Ganesan, who has been in the forefront in encouraging researchers. Our principal himself is an avid researcher and a teacher having an experience of more than 30 years. He has published over 100 research articles in international journals and conferences. He is also a fellow member of Institute of Engineers, Calcutta, and life member of Indian Society for Technical Education, New Delhi. He has visited top-ranked technical universities in UK as a part of his TEQIP activities during 2009-10. We are truly privileged to have him as our principal. I now request our principal, Dr. L. Ganesan, to welcome the gathering.
Sir, CEO, sir, distinguished chief guest, academicians on the dais and off the dais, heads of various departments, my dear faculty members of RIT, people from press and media, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to all of you. I'm very happy to associate myself in the inaugural function of the International Conference arranged by the Ramco Institute of Technology, Rajapalayam, during 11th and 12th of March 2022. First of all, I welcome our beloved Chairman, Sir, Sri P.R. Venkatramarajah, Chairman, Ramco Group of Companies and Chairman, Governing Council of RIT, who has given permission to conduct this web conference. Under dynamic leadership, RIT is marching ahead on achievements. busy schedule and programs, he has readily accepted our invitation to preside over this conference and offer presidential address. I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. Next, I welcome our CEO, Dr. R. Venkatraj, sir, for being associated with all our activities and give proper guidance whenever we are in need. And sincere and hearty welcome to our chief guest, Mr. Rajendran Dandapani, Director of Engineering, Zoho Corporation. The concern which starts in building the career of school-completed students and transform into skillful programmers and software architects. Chandrasekhar Chenniappan, Senior Director, HR of Virtusa Consulting Services Private Limited, who established centers of excellence and promotes students to limelight of their career. I extend a warm welcome to both the chief guests for their acceptance and are going to grace the occasion by their thought-provoking inaugural addresses. It really inspire all of the budding graduates on the future requirements and expectations from researchers and the technocrats. Next, I welcome all our advisory committee members, both national and international, who are also traveling with us during the entire conference activities. And I welcome our Vice Principal, Dr. S. Rajakarnagaran, who is the backbone of all our activities. Dr. J. Lakshmi, Professor and Head CSE and Organizing Secretary of this conference. Dr. S. Kannan, Professor and Head EEE. Professor S. Periyanayaki, Professor and Head ECE. Professor Dharmar, Professor and Head Civil Engineering. And Professor M. Kaliyappan, Professor and Head AI and Data Science. And Karthikeyan Physics, Professor O. Senthil Kumar, Chemistry, Professor Anand, Department of English, and other event coordinators and committee members who have contributed their untiring efforts for the successful organization of this conference. I take this opportunity in welcoming our GM, admin, Mr. K.S. Selvaraj, who is always shaping our thoughts into reality by his care and implementation with the dedication. I welcome, sir, all the faculty and the teaching technical staff and the ministerial staff of RIT and other office bearers who shoulders additional responsibilities and enthusiastic involvement in making this virtual function a reality. And all the learned professors and academicians from other colleges in and abroad who has accepted our invitation to present keynote addresses and invited talks. They also undertake reviewing the conference papers on various metrics and finally selected few for the presentation. I welcome all the moderators, session coordinators whose timely involvement make the conference chaos-free and streamlined. All our presenters who are going to share their ideas and research outcomes to the fellow participants in an international forum on these 2 days. Earlier days, we used to travel along to meet the professors and experts and waited long for having a discussion with them. Or to search for an article in a library, we have to spend a lot of time. Now, due to the invention of various smart tools and techniques, we are bringing the entire world into our computers and mobile phones. These achievements had not been achieved overnight. It was with the various deliberations, presentations, sincere efforts, and experiments, success or failures, possible to get achieved. Our elders suffered, struggled, and found out useful gadgets which we are enjoying now. It is our responsibility and duty to find better products for our younger generation to come as a gratitude for our elders. We are factory, smartphones, smart materials, smart construction, smart electrical appliances, smart infrastructure, and smart business, etc. Each sectors have inventions and related applications then and there, and even evolving too. Facilitate presentations, discussions, deliberate on the above topics, and gives out the best ideas and concepts for our future generations. With these few words, let me conclude my welcome address and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our presidential address. Respected Sri P.R. Venkatramaraja, the chairman of Ramco Group of Companies, has obtained his bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Madras, ACTech campus, and master's degree in business management from the University of Michigan, USA. His philosophy, technology keeps you ahead, resulted in him establishing Ramco Group and its logistics. All courses in RIT have followed his able guidance and have completed several online courses from reputed universities across the world. This has helped our teachers to enhance their subject knowledge, resulting in effective delivery and aided them keeping up with the current developments in the field of innovation and research. We are indeed privileged to have him with us at the moment. I now invite our respected chairman, Sri P.R. Venkatramaraja, to deliver his presidential address. Sir, please.
Good morning, everybody, and my warm welcome to Mr. Dandapani, who's our chief guest, and Mr. Chenniappan, our chief guest, and Dr. Venkatraj, our CEO, our chief education officer, Dr. L. Ganeshan, our principal, Dr. Rajakarunakaran, our vice principal, organizing secretary, and all of you from all over the world who are present here on this conference. It is my pleasure, it is with great pleasure I do a very warm welcome to all of you, academicians, researchers, students from all over the world who are participating in our International WED Conference on Smart Technologies and Applications, supported by AICTE, All India Council of Technical Education, and Department of Biotechnology, and National Bank of Agriculture and Rural Development, and Builders Association of India. Ramco Institute of Technology is supported by the Ramco Group of Industries, which has its presence in cement, building materials, textiles, and software, both in India and across the world. Established in 2013, Ramco Institute of Technology has made a mark for itself by securing a place among the top university-affiliated engineering colleges in Tamil Nadu. The institution is certified by ISO and accredited by NAAC and NBA. The teaching and learning process of AIT are done by both active and passive methods with learning management systems, with tools like Canvas, Google, Classroom, etc. RIT practices an outcome-based education methodology and emphasizes on setting standards of measurable outcomes, which is manifested on the prominent placement of students. The faculty members of RIT are engaged in pursuit of quality research and have published a number of papers in reputed journals and have filed for patents too. The objective of hosting this conference is to disseminate information on the latest trends and global research in all engineering fields. The post-COVID situation has opened scope for productivity in various fields, which in turn has brought automation to the forefront. Hence, RIT has arranged this web conference to provide a platform for researchers, academic experts, and practitioners from industries in India and abroad. The exchange of research ideas and approach to design and problem solving can be learned from such a conference, which I'm sure is bound to inspire all of us into a much deeper learning process. In addition to the internet and touchscreen smartphones, it's now the turn of artificial intelligence and smart technology and other advances in biotechnology in the next phase of global innovation. The ICSTA-22 provides an interdisciplinary platform for researchers and educators to discuss the recent innovations and envision sustainable developments for the future. The conference of 2022 is a collective effort of various committees, and I appreciate their good work in hosting this event. I hope the presentations and the invited talks in the various branches of science and engineering will provide an insight in the emerging technologies. I appreciate all participants, research scholars, and reviewers for their enthusiastic response. I wish the conference a grand success. On this wonderful occasion, I also appreciate the various digital forums and the creators for being part of this conference. I'm delighted to inaugurate this virtual conference, ICSTA-22 at the Ramco Institute of Technology, Rajpalayam. Wishing you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you for your guidance and support, sir. Our CEO, Dr. R. Venkatraj, is a tireless technocrat and gives utmost importance to create a good learning and research environment in RIT. During his stint as principal of PACR Polytechnic, he took the institute to greater heights to reach the pinnacle of success. We are very much delighted to have him with us. Now I request Dr. R. Venkatraj, CEO of Ramco Educational Institutions, to offer his felicitations.
Very good morning to you all. Ramco Institute of Technology is hosting the International Conference on Smart Technology and Applications 2022 today and tomorrow. Respected Chairman Sri P.R. Venkatramaraja, Ramco Group of Companies, Mr. Rajendran Dandapani, Director of Engineering, Zoho Corporation, Mr. Chandrasekhar Chenniappan, Senior Director HR, Virtusa, dignitaries, Professor L. Ganesan, Principal, Vice Principal, Professor Raja Karunakaran, GM Admin, Professor K. Vijayalakshmi, Organizing Secretary, CSC Department, HOD, Heads of Department, faculty members, and paper presenters. It gives me immense pleasure to be part of this inaugural conference. Nothing is more vital than striving for the common good during the trying times, which has come out in the form of ICSTA 2022. This conference is a convergence of industries and academia. It is inspiring to see intellectual minds working together to promote smart engineering technologies in order to create a more sustainable future. The deliberations at the conference will provide an opportunity for further interaction among research laboratories, academia, and IT industries. The conference will bring number of innovations for the future research. I have noticed that more than 250 research papers in 40 thrust areas have been planned to be presented in this conference. The ideas and discussions from the themes will help to solve major engineering challenges in a convenient and most cost-effective way. I am hopeful that the discussions in this conference will yield useful results that will lead to significant advancements in the field of smart engineering technologies. I am positive that many innovative concepts will emerge out of the conference and wish the conference a grand success. Without the collective efforts of the faculty members, such a mega event cannot be possible. On behalf of RIT team, I thank All India Council for Technical Education for sponsoring the conference, and also thank the Department of Biotechnology, NABARD, and Builders Association of India co-sponsoring conference. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I call upon Dr. K. Vijayalakshmi, the organizing secretary of this conference and the HOD of CSC, to give a briefing about the conference.
A pleasant morning to one and all present here. ICSTA 2022 is an interdisciplinary conference organized by all the departments of Ramco Institute of Technology in order to provide a platform to share ideas of various teams such as civil engineering, computer science and engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, electronics and communication engineering, mechanical engineering, artificial intelligence and data science, mathematics, physics, and chemistry. This conference work was initiated in October 2020, and then the advisory committee members were formulated, followed by brochure preparation, website hosting, and other works. On 25/8/2021, AICTE granted permission letter for conducting international conference. Different funding agencies, AICTE, NABARD, DBT, and BAI, sponsored for various activities of this conference. In this conference, we have received contribution from various colleges across 5 countries and 18 states of India. To name a few, UMS University of Malaysia, Ariata Watt University, Scotland, University of Technology and Applied Science, Oman, CSIR Roorkee, NITTR Bhopal, College of Engineering, Pune, Acharya Nagarjuna University, AP, Jabalpur Engineering College, Jabalpur, Jain University, Bangalore, CCS University, Meerut, Amitabh College of Engineering, Maharashtra, etc. We have received 315 technical papers for presentation and 1007 participants. The Microsoft CMT conference management software is used for receiving, reviewing, and for communication of the papers. Each paper was blind peer reviewed by 2 expert reviewers and plagiarism was checked. Finally, 197 papers were selected for presentation. The 2-day international conference is planned with 12 technical sessions per day in the interdisciplinary emerging areas. About 7 to 9 authors will present the research work in each session, shared by 2 expert members from reputed institutions and industry to give valuable suggestions. The selected papers presented in the conference will be published in the AAP Proceeding Journal based on author willingness. The chief guests for our conference are Mr. Rajendran Dandapani, Director of Engineering, Zoho Corporation, and Mr. Chandrasekhar Chenniappan, Senior Director, HR, Virtusa Consulting Services. The keynote speakers for ICSTA-22 are Kinga Korniejenko, Cracow University of Technology, Poland, Hasdan Assis, Anglia Ruskin University, UK. On 11th March 2022, we have domain-specific invited talks by Gunasekaran Tangavel, Higher College of Technology, Oman, Dr. Ijadwai Dang, University of NSW, Australia, Dr. Muhammad Abdul Manan, UMS University, Malaysia, Dr. D. Sriram Kumar, Professor, NIT Trichy, Dr. Borat, Salesian University of Technology, Poland. Similarly, on 12th March 2022, we have domain-specific invited talk by Dr. Mahmoud Hassala, Ababa University of Technology, Jordan, Dr. Vinod, American University, Dubai, Dr. Kumar Palanichami, Intercommunal Group, Spain, Dr. Panjarcham Mariappan, IIT Tirupati, Dr. Vivekanandan, Founder and CEO, Trikay Industrial Engineering Private Limited, Trichy, Dr. Rasmi Gupta, Netaji Subhas University of Technology, New Delhi, Dr. S. Balamurhan, and Dr. Prashant R. Nair, Amartha College of Engineering, Coimbatore. We take this opportunity to express gratitude for our chairman, P.R. Venkatramarajah, for his inspiring support towards organizing this conference, and Dr. Venkatraj, Ramco Group of Educational Institution, Dr. L. Ganesan, Principal, Ramco Institute of Technology, and Dr. S. Rajakarunaharan, Vice Principal, for their guidance in all aspects. We thank our General Manager, Mr. Selvaraj, for his support for this conference. We take this opportunity to echo out the untiring support extended by the advisory committee members, chief guests, keynote speakers, invited talk members, session chairs, HODs, conveners, and coordinators for various committee, the faculty members and non-teaching staff members of RIT. We wish all the participants for being a part of this event and getting mutually benefited. The success of this conference is the team effort of Ramco Institute of Technology. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. Release of proceedings. We have accepted research papers submitted by researchers and students across the world in different fields of science and engineering after much scrutiny and review. It has a foreword written by our chairman, CEO, and other dignitaries, and also has information about our national and international advisory committee members who are from different parts of the world. I now request our honorable dignitaries on the dais to release the proceedings of this conference. The first copy of the proceedings will be released by Dr. R. Venkatraj, CEO of Ramco Educational Institutions, and it will be received by Dr. L. Ganesan, Principal of Ramco Institute of Technology. Thank you all. Sir, thank you all. Now, it's our chief guest introduction. Our chief guest, Sri Rajendran Dandapani, is a multi-talented and multifaceted personality. He is a TEDx speaker and a technological evangelist. He was a part of founding team at Zoho Corporation, then called Waymo Systems. Later, he spent 7 years at Zerago, Asia's largest new age marketing entity, as their chief algorithms officer, managing projects, services for clients including Citibank and Sifi. After joining Zoho Corporation in 2004, he has been serving a triple role at the company. He spearheads mobile development at Zoho with multi-talented team that builds mobile apps for its 45 million plus customers. He is a contra academician at heart and plays a vital role in Zoho's own ongoing social experiment, seen by many as a viable alternative to conventional school and college education, with a strong feeling that the education system in India needs a reboot. He also walked the talk by free schooling
his 20-year-old son at home. His son graduated out of Zoho School of Learning and is now his colleague at Zoho Corporation. We are delighted to have Sri Rajendran Dandapani, Director of Engineering, Zoho Corporation, amongst us in this conference. Now, I request Sri Rajendran Dandapani to address the gathering. Sir, please.
Right. Thank you. Namaste. Probably you can stop sharing the screen and highlight or spotlight my video for everybody, because my screen is my presentation. I'm not sharing a deck. Thank you. Thanks a lot for this opportunity. It is indeed an honor to be among you all, at least virtually, where you are going to discuss smart technologies for the future, that is coming at us at a breakneck pace. We think we are preparing something for the future. We think we are getting ready, learning subjects, getting marks, scoring grades. We think we are laying a foundation for our career, for our work. But very often we realize that the pace of technology is so fast that we are preparing students for a world where the technologies that they are going to use are not even invented yet. The problems that they are going to face, we don't even know they are such a problem. The tools they are going to use, we haven't even invented yet. So how are we going to solve this problem? How are we going to give our students a good toolkit, a good base, foundation, or platform, using which they can boldly, courageously, with energy and motivation, get into that world and use those smart technologies? I have a few thoughts to share regarding this, and join me. First of all, I would like to share a joke that I received on WhatsApp. This is exactly what's going through our students' minds. It was titled, "Why I Hate Mathematics." It's because in class they're asked to do 5 plus 5 is what? Fine, doable. Then as homework, they are given problems like this. 734 plus 555 minus 432 by 69 plus 12.42. Yes, harder, but doable. But when the exam comes up, this is what they get at the test. 2 sheep flying, 1 yellow, the other headed right. How much does a kilo of cement cost, given that the cow is 10 years old? Try solving the problem. This is exactly why a student hates mathematics. This is exactly what a student feels when faced by this oncoming wave of technology trends. When talking about technology trends, this is something that I would like to leave behind with you. Even if you do not attend this next 2 days, even if you completely miss out, let this be one little takeaway that you have. This was recently quoted by the Canadian president. In Davos, he said, "The pace of change has never been this fast, yet it'll never be this slow again." That is the curse, that is the boon of that exponential growth. It has never been this fast. Till today, this is the fastest. Starting today, this is the slowest. That is the position we are all in. Gartner is probably the go-to spot if you want to find out, hey, what's cooking in the world of technology. You can actually go to the website and you will notice that there are these predictions that Gartner comes out. There is this strategic technology trends for every year. Preparing for this talk, I thought, hey, let's have some fun. Let's go back in time. Let's see what Gartner has been saying all along, and let's see how they came out. These are the trends for the year 2012. Pay extra attention to those words in green, because those are the ones that actually stay for the upcoming years. And the rest of them, they are fads. They came, they went away. They came, they didn't make much of an impact. There was probably a political blockade. There was an adoption blockade, whatever, but things didn't really work out for them. So I'll be taking those non-green text and I'll be piling them up above me like this. 2013, social collaboration, next-gen analytics. 14, 15, 16. Look at what's happening. There is so much that doesn't stand till the next year. 17, 18, 19. Conversational systems is no longer a trend in 2021, 22. It is dropped out. 20, 21, 22. So these multiple experiences, transparency and traceability, autonomous things, AI, the empowered edge in the cloud, these are the trends that are holding today. We don't know what will happen a couple of years from now. So what's happening? Why did all of those drop away? Why did some of those remain? If you ask that question, there will be two answers that went unused. That simply to it. It didn't get the recognition Gartner thought they deserved. Like I said, two answers. Answer number one, you can find in this book. It's actually not a technology book. It is a marketing book. It is a super hyper classic marketing book. It's called the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. Every business student, every entrepreneur swears by it. It was written 40 years ago. It is even today highly relevant. I want to point out law number 21, and that law is called the law of acceleration. It has a very simple statement. It just says, successful programs are not built on fads, they are built on trends. What's a fad? A fad is something that isn't here today and then suddenly appears and then gone day after tomorrow. That's a fad. People are still wondering, is blockchain a fad or is Bitcoin a fad? They are wondering. Then there is this other word, which is fashion. A fashion picks up a little slower than a fad, and then it's around for a longer time, like probably a sense of hairstyle or a way of dressing. They are fashion today, but not as much a fashion the next year. But the third word, which is what I want you to put real focus on, is the trend. The trend starts slowly. You would not even notice that a trend is starting. It happens when you are sleeping without your knowledge, but it picks up speed, and once it picks up speed, it is like a tsunami wave, no stopping it. If you want to compare a fad with a trend, a fad is probably like a wave that comes and goes. You miss one, you can catch the other. But a trend is like the tide. You wouldn't notice it rising slowly, but surely by night time, in the next 3 hours, the level is going to rise. And if you make a mistake, you're going to drown. If you make the right moves, you will rise with the tide. So the first answer to that question, what's going wrong? Why is Gartner itself not able to predict? Why are all those trends dying out? The first answer is, yes, some of them are fads, some of them are fashions, but only a few of them are real trends. And you need to learn how to spot a trend and how to differentiate it from a fad. All right. The second answer that I want to give to that same question lies inside Google Books. Google Books, many of you will know, is a website powered by Google where it has cataloged every printed word, every book that's been published from way back, probably 600, 700, 1,000 years ago. Every book has been scanned, has been character recognized, words have been extracted, all the way till a book that was published just yesterday. And Google provides a free service called the Ngram Viewer. You can fire it up. You can type in a word, a phrase, or a sequence of characters, and it will give you a beautiful graph like the one shown below. It will give you a beautiful graph of how popular, how many times that phrase or word has occurred in its amazing database. I am going to show you some examples. Frequency of railways in Google Books. This is how it looks. You will notice that in the early 1800s, nobody talked about it in books. And then there was a peak around 1910, and then it started dipping. Why does it start dipping? I'll show you a few more examples and tell you why. Steel. There is a peak somewhere around 1950, then there is a dip. Computerization. Nobody talks about computerization in the 1950s because computers didn't exist. But there is a big pickup. And then there is a steep drop. In 2000s, there is a drop. Why isn't nobody talking about computerization in books today? Software. Again, a late pickup, but the drop has already started. The reason for these drops, if you put a little thought into it, you will realize, aha, okay, now I get it. The reason is, when something is not known to anybody, nobody talks about it in books. When something is known to everybody, nobody talks about it in books. Today, software is like furniture. You can't differentiate your business or your organization, academic institute, by saying, oh, we use software. Everybody uses software. So when it is as ubiquitous as water, air, electricity, furniture, potted plant, fan above your head, air conditioning, nobody talks about it. There is nothing unique or special about it. And that is the reason that you see the dip. That could also be the reason why Gartner simply could not keep mentioning something as a trend, because it is already ubiquitous and found everywhere. I want to leave behind just 4 or 5 tips, given the situation that I painted for you, for learners, students and teachers and academicians in this group to be in touch with these changing trends. Tip number 1, it is a no-brainer, seriously. You have to become a lifelong learner. Gone are the days when you could prepare, you could learn, you could study, you could get a degree, you could get a job, and till death or retirement, you could use what you learned and continue that job and get better at it. That time is gone. Today, you have to somehow look at your calendar, look at your timetable, and dedicate time to become better every day, to become a lifelong learner, to unlearn, to relearn some of the things that you probably did not dedicate time for, some of the things that have happened during your job, which didn't even exist when you were at college. So you are responsible for your learning. You cannot blame your academic institute or your organization or your friends or your employer or your colleagues or the project you're working on. It is your job to somehow find the time to get better each day, just a little. Tip number 2, not many people pay importance to it, pay attention to it. You need to find a mentor. A teacher is an amazing person. A guru is great. But what can a person like him or her do when there are 40 different people in a classroom, each person asking a different doubt, each person at a different level of expertise, and more importantly, each person chasing a different dream? So the teacher will do the best he or she can. But if you want to go to that next step, if you want to travel the road less traveled, if you want to change gears and become a truly splendid example of an employee or an entrepreneur somewhere, you need to find a mentor. You need to find somebody who has traveled that path. You need to become an apprentice, probably an apprentice for life there. And by watching, you need to learn. They may not have the time. A mentor will simply not have the time to just conduct a class for you, but they will perform that dance, their amazing work, and they will bless you with permission to watch them when they are at it. That is enough. Become a great apprentice to an amazing mentor. Learning, not enough. Doing is the only important thing. Particularly in modern technologies today, so much is happening. Just imbibing them from reading books or articles will simply not do. You need to get your hands dirty. You need to put your hands and feet in action. You need to make something, probably break something. And that is when you will truly learn. Most of the things that we need to learn, we learn by doing. I am not saying this. Narendra Modi didn't say this. Obama didn't say this. Einstein didn't say this. Way back, 2,500 years ago, Aristotle said it. Nothing has changed with respect to that quote. Whatever we need to learn to do, we need to learn by doing. There is no way out. And finally, we forget to realize that everything in this web of knowledge is actually connected. Try touching one corner of a large spider web, and you will notice how the vibrations spread everywhere. You cannot touch one corner without almost disturbing that whole web. That is how knowledge itself is. Nothing that you encounter as a subject or a category or a topic or a domain, you are going to have the right to say, oh, I don't think I will ever face that in my life. I don't think I will ever need it. I don't think I need to pay attention to it. No. The way things are connected, the way things coexist by collaborating, by really intermingling, the confluence that's happening, the great convergence that's happening, you have to keep your eyes and ears open. You have to have your learning hat on all the time. You have to be always ready to pick it up and tell yourself, this looks shiny, this looks amazing. I don't know whether I'm going to use it now, but I know I will find the need for it someday in the future. Let me hang on to it. That is that universal creative hunger you need to have every day. And this conference is a great way to begin feeding that hunger. All the best. Thanks a lot.
Sir, Uttra here. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your presence for the inauguration ceremony and for the wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Letting us know the difference between simulation and empirical study. Also, we surely impart your ideas in our teaching learning process. And also the ideas shared, especially on Google Dumb's Ngram viewers, and helps our learning community understanding better about what's a graphics. With these few words, I would like to thank once again. Thank you, sir. Postgraduate Diploma in Personal Management and Industrial Relations from the Madras School of Social Work. Prior to joining Virtusa, he was with Atmel's R&D Center in India. There, he was responsible for a complete gamut of various HR activities. He has vast and rich experience and had stint with Hewlett-Packard, iGate Global Solutions, Polaris Software, Kumaran Systems, and the Child's Trust Hospital. We are indeed privileged to have him with us. I now invite Mr. Chandrasekhar to address the gathering. Sir, please.
Good morning, everybody. And Raj, good morning to you.
Namaste. Good morning.
Nice meeting you, and wonderful session as always. Great context and great insights. So first of all, glad to be part of this event, and wish the event organizers and the students who are participating in this seminar wonderful experiential learning in this next 2 days as part of this journey. So having said that, just wanted to quickly give you the I mean, being a HR person, would like to give you some insights on what we are looking for and what is the current scenario, market scenario, and what we are at today. So we all have just crossed 2 years of our pandemic situation, right? We can call it post-pandemic, or we have reached an endemic state, and all these things, right? So this 2 years has taught us a lot of things, right? One is our ways of working. When I say ways of working, not only in our professional side, rather our personal ways of working as well, at home, at our office, within the family, right? Within our friend circle, everywhere it has completely changed. I mean, this is something which is a phenomenal change which has happened, right? And in this entire journey, the best part is, as human beings, we have been resilient and extremely adaptable to this change, and we have come out of this situation successfully. We had some norms to be followed. I mean, initially there was hesitation, then subsequently we all agreed to it, majority fell in place, and now we are in a better shape when compared to where we started, and we seem to be in control. And today we are not in a reactive mode, rather we are in a mode how to respond to the situation. That is the best learning which I personally had. And having this topic as smart technologies, the conference is on the smart technologies and applications. We have become more smarter, we have become more resilient post this pandemic. This is what I wanted to start off with, giving a background and overview of, from a people perspective. We changed the ways of working. We all initially, remote working was a taboo, that too from a services industry. People never trusted people. Today, things changed. Things are working seamlessly. I mean, thanks to all the technological advances which you engineers have brought in place with extreme levels of connectivity, you can be connected from wherever you are, and work is happening seamlessly across, and we are delivering projects to the satisfaction of the clients across the globe, sitting out in different parts of the country. So, in all these things, change is the only constant. Continuous change, continuous adaptability to this situation are the two key things which has come out as a learning from this whole pandemic situation. Moving on to give you a business climate where we are, right? Today, I represent the information technology sector, and we are into the IT services and IT consulting business. So all of us today are going through a war for talent, and the requirements and the opportunities and more of offshoring which has happened post pandemic has thrown open enough and more opportunities for the entire engineering fraternity or the circuit branches and others as well. So both in terms of a fresh graduate hire to a lateral hire, there is so much of opportunities. Just to give you some ballpark figure, we are in the range of hiring close to 1,200 people from the campus for this coming fiscal year. Likewise, at any given point of time, we have at least close to, I'm talking only about my business unit, around 200 to 300 lateral openings for experienced professionals. So what does it mean? It essentially means that the market has opened up and we are in the right track in terms of, in terms of having opportunities and having giving more scope for the campus grads to come into the system. So the best part is the people who are competent and who are eligible and who are doing well are the most sought after people. And essentially from a business context, building people at the bottom makes a lot of cost sense for the organization. So all the engineering grads, you will have to be happy and you will have to be jubilant that there are enough and more opportunities out in the market for each one of you. So with this positive note, I just wanted to crystallize and give some inputs from a behavior, from a personality, and what you need to look for as few pointers which will help you to be successful, right? The first and foremost thing is the attitude. The right attitude, which essentially makes the first beginning. I mean, we always say, right, with the right mindset, whatever you start with the right intent, it's halfway, you're already successful halfway, and it's the remaining half which you'll have to cross. Likewise, if you have the right attitude, which is critical today, right, in this current scenario, when I say the right attitude, not get bogged down with things which are happening around and be selective in your hearing. Rather, keep your eyes and ears open and constantly keep updated and develop the sense of positive attitude, which actually plays in your mind to your advantage, and it helps you to handle the change which is happening around your ecosystem. Today, one simple example. I mean, I know now we are getting into the college mode and people are back to college, right? But the way online education things which we will wanted to it, unless and until you had the right mind share, it would have been difficult for you to adapt to that situation. So the right attitude plays a role in changes which are happening around you. Anybody, when I say adaptability, being flexible and odd.
Hello? Excuse me,
Rather,
sir.
being open to ideas.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry for interrupting, sir. Your voice is breaking, sir.
Yeah, that seems to be.
Sir? Sir, sorry for interrupting, sir. Sir, now your voice is breaking, sir. Kindly check the internet connectivity, sir. Hello?
Yeah, there's some network.
Hello, sir. Dear participants, kindly wait a minute. The guest will join in a few minutes.
I'm extremely sorry for this technical glitch. I think there was some issue on the connectivity.
Now, okay, sir. Now it is clear, sir. Your voice is clear.
Okay. So coming back, so I was talking about the right attitude, develop and becoming more adaptable to the change, right, which is happening across the board, which is a key thing, key ingredient for our success today, right? The changes are rapid, and we all need to keep pace with what is happening and getting ourselves acclimatized and adapting to the change is going to be our success. I mean, in what we are going to do, right? How do you develop this adaptability? One is learning from others, looking at what others do, right? And be willing to make mistakes. That's the most second important thing. I mean, never be afraid of making mistakes. Rather, be willing to make mistakes and ask more questions. When you ask more questions, you get better insights and you become a better person in terms of making yourself adaptable to the situation, right? And the third A which I wanted to insist on is developing the right aptitude for anything for that matter, right? Today you're all engineering grads who are all going to get graduated, and aptitude to in your respective field is something which is going to be critical for your success. How do you develop aptitude? I mean, I know this is kind of a behavioral skill which comes internally, and we assess the aptitude and things like that, right? But when you have a continuous practice, right, you tend to develop your aptitude and your reasoning skills. For that, the other basic foundation is work on your basics. Today, we do get to the habit of looking at our getting into certifications, getting into a lot of things which are kind of a easy way out, right? Today we are in the fast world. Rather, everything is fast, and in the context of being smart, we tend to ignore our basics. So work on your basics first and be consistent. When you have to develop your aptitude towards something, right? Be consistent. Practice well, be consistent. And understanding the concepts in total makes you a better person and provides you and enables you to be stronger in your subject, right? And last but not the least, your time management, ability to manage time. That is one other factor, important factor, how you manage your time, how well and how effectively you use things. I mean, use your time well in your kind of whatever you do is going to help in creating the right aptitude. And the fourth important A which I wanted to touch upon is your intent or your focus to achieve the goal which you have set in mind, right? The goal achievement or the intent to achieve the goal is something which is very important, as we all live today in a very competitive world which is moving very fast, right? There is difference between achievement and success, right? So achievement may not be on the numbers, rather success gives you a lot more satisfaction for you, right? And what exactly the achievement motivation orientation which means is that you should have the drive which comes with the passion to accomplish your goals and excel in whatever you do. So that is going to be a critical factor for you, right? Achievement orientation, which for each one of us today, right? And how do you focus on what you're supposed to do and be committed in what you do? In this process, to achieve something, you will have to seek knowledge and make the journey really enjoyable to each one of you, right? You are in a 3 or 4 year program, right? As you enjoy this college days, you set a goal for you, and in the process, have lots of fun and have lots of learning, right? And one other important aspect is stop being nice to yourself. Don't live in your comfort zone. Come out of it, stress yourself maximum, right? Put yourself to hard times and get rid of all the distractions and focus on developing as a well-rounded individual person, and that will lead you to a better person and to more and direct you more towards achieving the goal in your life, right? That achievement orientation is something which the other A which I wanted to bring out and let you all know that is critical for your success in today's journey. And finally, last but not the least, right? Agility. What is agility? I mean, when you look at smart things, a smarter way of working, all the smart technologies and things what we are talking about today and the next 2 days what you're going to talk about, right? It's related to agility as well. Where a person being agile is open to all aspects in terms of both learning and unlearning. And he is able to accept the realities of life. He is able to accept the present and also able to move forward to the future. And the person who is called as an agile person is a continuous learner and a continuous listener as well, right? And one other important quality is that you being comfortable with the uncomfortable things. that is when you adapt to the situation, and also you know how to come out of the situation, and you also have the ability to collaborate with people whom you are not aware, and who are something new to you, and make things better for yourself. Finally, right, you should be able to deal with frequent disruption. That is a critical aspect of being an agile person, right? So today in the technology world, disruption is the norm, and it's happening in a rapid phase, and whatever is happening today, whatever is relevant and contextual today will not be relevant and contextual in the next few years. That is the level of disruption which is happening in and around in all aspects of life, right? So finally, being resilient today, just relating to the last 2 years situation, the pandemic, post-pandemic, and now today where we are, one thing which has come out is, as a race, as human beings, we are resilient in taking care of ourselves and coming out of any particular situation. So this is something which is, these are the 5 A's which I wanted to insist, relating to the 5 elements of nature: the earth, water, fire, air, and space, which I just wanted to quickly connect on this aspect, right? Where earth, when you say earth, you have this, you be grounded, stay grounded. That is what earth personifies, and you have a vast landscape to play, right? And you have all the opportunities in front of you to make use of it. Stay grounded in whatever you do, right? Being a responsible individual and being a responsible citizen as well. And both, when I say responsibility towards your family first, right? Then responsibility towards the alma mater which teaches you, then responsibility towards the society, and responsibility to the nation, right? And next is be like a water which can take its own form and shape wherever it is, in the way it moves around, wherever. If you keep it in a glass bottle, it becomes a glass of water. If you put it in a jug, it becomes a jug of water, right? And the adaptability is what it shows up when that element shows up, when you talk about water, the ability to adapt to situation is what comes to my mind. And think about that, right? Which is one of the A's which I talked about, right? And the third element, fire, right? Have that urge, have that achievement orientation which you have, right? And be always focused on what you want to achieve in your life, right? Make your things very clear. Put a clear goal sheet. Work towards that, so that it helps you to move in a positive direction from where you are, right? And coming back to air and space, there is no limit. The opportunities are immense. There is no boundaries, right? And the world is with you, right? And as long as you put your right efforts and focus on what you want to achieve and focus on your fundamentals and basics, I think each one of you are going to be successful. The next 2 days with this conference on smart technologies, right? Every individual can become smart and successful if you have the right attitude, the right adaptability skills, right aptitude, and clear achievement orientation, and being agile. I wish you all success in this journey, and I'm sure you're going to have an extraordinary learning in the next 2 days. And stay grounded always. Keep it simple, right? Look at providing simple solutions, so that life is simple as well. Life is not as complicated as we think as we are. And I'm sure all of you will come out successfully in your lives. Thank you for giving this wonderful opportunity. Once again, wish you all success and have a wonderful learning for the next 2 days. Thank you so much. And my sincere apologies for the technical glitch which happened in between. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. This is Uttara here. Thanks for being with us this time, and thanks for the thought-provoking session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Uttara.
Thank you, sir. Right. Next one is Keynote Address. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Kinga Korniejenko, researcher, Cracow University of Technology, Faculty of Material Engineering and Physics, Institute of Material Engineering, Poland. Dr. Kinga Korniejenko is a research adjunct at the Institute of Material Engineering at the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering of Cracow University of Technology. She received her first MSc from Material Engineering and second one from Management and PhD from Management. Her research interests include waste management, durability of alkaline activated materials and geopolymers, especially fly ash-based composites reinforced by short fibers for the applications of civil engineering. She also nominated UIA expert for the UIA funded project Urban Infra Revolution that works towards closing the loop with 3D printable recyclable geocomposites made of industrial side streams. With these few words, I now invite Dr. Kinga Korniejenko to share nuggets of wisdoms with the audience. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Thank you for a nice invitation. I try to upload my presentation. One moment. I just share my whole screen. Maybe I try to do it through the window because probably you see yes. Just please confirm that you see my presentation. Hello?
Yes, madam. Now the screen is visible.
Okay, so thank you. It is a great pleasure to have a speech today on this conference connected with the smart technologies and their application. Today, I would like to speak shortly about the selection of the raw materials for geopolymerization technology as an element of sustainable development. This topic is important in the nowadays world because we started to think more and more about our environment. We started to think more and more what we do with our around world, especially in the context on our environment. One of the big issue is greenhouse emission, and we start to do some activities against it. But what we must do, it should be clearly said that it should be correlated with development. Not only the protection about the environment is important, but correlation it with the growing, correlation it with possibility to develop whole society. And nowadays, this topic connected with the greenhouse gases give us opportunities to find a more effective way to produce the materials, more effective way to develop the technologies. And back to our topic, our greenhouse gases emissions. One of this main technology that is main sector that's responsible for this emission is a building sector. The building sector is covered by energy used in the building, And this is not only the energy that we use using this building, but it is also the energy that we use during the building process, during the construction, and also this is this energy that we use for the production of the different kind of building materials. And separate category, it's also a cement manufacturing, because it's a huge deal in this coal greenhouse emission. It is almost 3% only from this one materials. Other materials you find this energy production. Going to some kind of possible solution to this situation is finding some kind of replacement for this cement technology for the concrete production. And one of this kind of alternative that we nowadays strongly recommended, they are the geopolymerization. Geopolymerization have some advantages comparison with traditional production of the Portland cement, because they limitate the greenhouse emission, and not only through this own material, but also through this process that is less energy consuming than in Portland cement technology. It is caused mainly by temperature. This kind of materials during the production process requires something like 75 to 100 Celsius degree. In comparison, this Portland cement is, this temperature, there are usually up to 1000 Celsius degree. What kind of materials are geopolymers? These materials are usually made in alkali activation process. So we use alkalia. As a raw material, we may use different kind of alumina and silicate sources. And about this topic, I would like to speak more detail today. On the slide, you have just one exemplary. It is a fly ash. And the next, we add just alkali activator. And we started to do the process. Thanks to sodium or potassium, we started to create this material structure that the first they are oligomers, and the next, similar as traditional plastic, as traditional polymers, we create this three-dimensional network that is building with quite long chains. This reaction, as I mentioned, could be is usually not required high temperature, is usually done in a little bit elevated temperature, but also we find some solution that this reaction could be made in something like ambient temperature, something like 20, 30 Celsius degree. Also in this, during this reaction is one other important thing, it is a time, because if we do not have the time, usually this change started to be just two-dimensional, so this network is not properly created. And in this case, we receive something like alkali activated materials that have a little bit different properties than geopolymers. They could be, they could have even better mechanical properties, something better strength, but they will be not resistant for the environmental conditions. So the dangerous is that this kind of materials will be not durable in the long time. Here you have comparison between this traditional cement, Portland cement, and the geopolymers. As you see, in geopolymers, we usually have more aluminum, but less calcium. And this is also the difference between alkali activate materials and geopolymers. Usually in alkali activated materials, we have more calcium, and this chemical reaction is much more faster. And as I mentioned, even if the strength is better, the resistance for the environmental condition will be weaker. In the slide, you have a scheme of production, this kind of materials. So we have binding materials, something like solid ingredients. We have also some kind of liquids. These liquids are usually alkalia, but because of this alkalia are required quite huge amount of energy, there is some trials to achieve the same material using some kind of other activator, for example, phosphor oxide, that is not such demanding for if we think about using our environment. The next, we're mixing this two or more ingredients. On this stage, we may also add some additional additives such as fibers or sometimes different powders that improve these properties of our materials. And the next, we receive, after some times, we receive geopolymers. These materials have different kind of advantages, but also similarly as all materials, they have also some kind of limitation. The advantages I shortly spoke before. It is environmental friendly. It is quite good mechanical properties. It is also the resistance to chemical aggressive environments, especially acid and salts. It is also the very good fire properties. Up to 1000 Celsius degree, we have no problems with fire dangerous, this kind of construction. And what is important, despite the properties of the organic polymers, something like styrofoam, these materials do not emit any toxic fumes when they are heated. So they allow us to escape in case of fire with the building, or just save some goods from this kind of construction. They are also they have also very nice adhesion properties. So we may cover by this material different kind of steel, different kind of ceramic materials. The main limitations are connected with the cost of production, and it is one of the main reasons that this material do not find wider application. It is especially the changeable price of the activator. However, they are not widely applied in Europe. Then find some kind of application among the world, especially in Australia. And in Australia, most of this kind of material is based on the fly ashes. But we return for this topic for a moment. And also this problem with this material, there is a lack of regulation, especially when we think about this implementation in Europe. There is a problem with receiving CE mark, and implement it to the market. This problem is partly solved in other countries, some such as United States. It is also completely solved in Australia. As I know, there is also some kind of implementation also in India. Other limitation this material is quite low flexure strength, but in which compare it with concrete materials, it is a little bit higher than for traditional building product. To avoid this problem, as I mentioned before, we may create some kind of composite, especially these composites are created with this different kind of fibers, long and short fibers, also with using natural fibers. Here is some kind of exemplary application in this, especially in this in the building product. You have a different kind of brick, you have a different kind of pavement, and two elements of the elevation. This application are a little bit wider because this material finds also application as a coating material and also as a material that solves us the problem with nuclear power station, because we may mobilize in this material some kind of toxic waste. If we speak about this perspective of the application, the business analysis show us that one three main perspective application for this material. There is a United States. As I said before, they solved the problem with the regulation. Australia, that actually used this material for many years, and the south part of the Asia. Also, one of these countries that is a high perspective for application, there is the India, and there is because of this natural resources, so wider availability of the raw materials that I would like to speak today. And a little bit about comparison to environmental effectiveness of two materials, Portland cement and geopolymers. And as you see, nowadays there are more effective for the environment than traditional cements, but this difference is not so huge. The main problem is here with the sodium silicate and sodium hydroxide, the most commonly used activator. So because of this problem, we try to replace partly the silica sources by other products, including waste product. And one of them is rice husk. Because of this kind of product could replace partly sodium silicate and hydrosilicate, India is considered as one of this place when this industry will be developed very fastly. Here you have some different kind of information about comparison. All these articles show us that these geopolymers will find there are better according to this environmental analysis than the Portland cement. Some of them suggest that they are a little bit better. Other, it is depending on the area and methodology, show us that they may be very favorable materials. What is this also important finding is that results of this analysis depending very strongly on the transport distance of the raw material. So that means that this one of the most important points is using the locally or regionally raw materials for creating this this kind of material. And this different raw material that we may use for geopolymerization process, there are natural minerals, and there are also different kind of waste. Different kind of waste we may include in this group industrial waste, mine tiling, and general waste. Especially this mine tiling group was created as a separate group because it's one of the most commonly this one huge group that we may use for alkali activation process. Of course, this classification is not so. This classification, sometimes we may put one kind of waste material to two categories. For example, this paper sludge fly ash, could be treated as industrial waste and also as a general waste. It's not such important for us. The important point for us is that we should be oriented what we may find in as our local in our local sources. So the first group, I just choose some kind of representative for these groups. I do not really speak about all possibilities. And the first, as a natural mineral, I just present 3 exemplary raw materials. The first is metakaolin. Metakaolin is a product from the natural kaolin minerals. They is created during this calcination process. This calcination process, in case of kaolin, is usually made through the high temperatures. And it also shows us that it could be disadvantageous using these natural minerals if we must apply this high temperature. Usually, we must also use some huge amount of energy. Some kind of alternative that we have is activation through the mechanical techniques, especially milling and grinding. It also requires some kind of energy, but it usually is lower than during the calcination process. This calcination process is a high temperature process. That means something like 70 Celsius degree. It's still lower temperature than during this cement production, but is still too much for be so have a huge difference between the Portland cement and this geopolymers. The main advantages of this metakaolin is, and also the reason that is used more commonly as a precursor for these geopolymers, is that it's repetitive. So we don't have problems with seasonal changes, the quality of these materials, and actually when we investigate these materials, and we have these materials from one sources, because the properties of the raw materials could also depend what kind of sources we use. Actually, it will be the same. So we have the same formula. We do not have investigate our raw material from every delivered part, and it is quite easy to support on this basis whole production process. Also advantageous is a color of this metakaolin, because it's something like white or some kind of reddish color. But it is still light color, and it is very easy to pigmentation and to receive different color for our products. Other raw material, there is a laterite. I speak about the laterite because it was first described actually in India. This kind of mineral could be in this group as natural sources, but also it could be a mine tiling from aluminum and iron mining production. The laterite has a reddish color. It has a quite huge amount of iron in this structure. This iron in the amount even of 20% do not influence positively on this geopolymerization process, and this is building into the structure of the materials, and it reinforces it. So, as you would like to start the investigation or start the production, some kind of products from geopolymers, you may try to investigate this kind of material on this specific area, on your specific area. And other materials, there are diatomite, volcanic tuff, and other different clays. As I mentioned, this is not a full list. Diatomite is quite interesting because it's a soil that is produced from fossilized remains of diatoms. They have very nice structure, especially under the same pictures. You have an example in this slide. And also it partly could be used for the geopolymerization process if we have this material available locally. And also the interesting for this process, there are different kinds of volcanic tuffs that have a very nice composition, and they are used also as some kind of simulation for the investigation made on regolith of this lunar and Martian soil, because this geopolymerization process is considered as one of the opportunity in the space investigation to build shelters. Go into the raw materials, especially fly ashes. The fly ashes, they are particularly interesting for us. For us, that I mean for the Poland and Indian, because we have our economy, our energy systems based on the coal. And if we have a lot of amount, this kind of energy waste product, we may use it for some kind of admixture for this concrete, but we may use it also as some kind of precursor for geopolymer materials. The problem with the fly ashes is that they have a changeable composition depending of this used technology and depend even of the season. And the fly ashes not only required to investigation during the starting this production, but they require the investigation during the whole production process. And when the new part is this fly ashes is delivered for our production, we must investigate it because chemical composition, oxygen composition may change. The research around the world show us that we may use for this process, this hard coal, fly ashes that came from hard coal combustion process. And both according the ASTM norms, and class F and class C is appropriate for this process. However, these fly ashes from class C, they include a lot of amount of calcium. So, as I mentioned on the beginning, we must be careful about the time. Our material should have a time to create proper bonding itself. And if we have too large amount of calcium, sometimes we need to have some additional sources of alumina and silica, and we may compose this material from others came from mine tailings or just natural minerals. And also, we may receive this fly ashes from brown coal. Usually this product made from brown coal, they do not have such huge strength as this from the hard coal, but still they may use locally, for example, for the pavements. And if we have some local structure, we may use this waste for this pavement production. And here you have this the example is how this precursor looks like. As you see, it is usually quite fine powder. Other possibilities is using slags from metal from iron production. These slags could be used as in two ways. One is just use it grinding it and using in alkali activation process, and the second is just use this slags as some kind of aggregate that reinforces as the structure of the geopolymer concrete. Other possibilities, there are silica fumes. The silica fumes are still the waste from the products of the silicon and ferrosilicon alloys. There's very thin powders, and we may create geopolymer directly from these sources, but it is also nice admixtures, additives for this material that reinforce it and limited the microporosity of this material because this powder is very, very fine. We have also different possibility to use different sources of industrial waste, and it is important to find something that we have locally. And if we would like to use this product as a building one, also we should use something that is that appear in quite huge amount. And the third group, there is raw materials as mine tailings, and especially for us is interesting the coal gouge. So that's this mine tailing that it appeared during the coal production. This usually this is this kind of rock that you just threw out during this production, that is the waste from this production of the coal. The chemical composition of this rock is based on silica, and there is also quite reasonable amount of alumina. Sometimes we must supplement this alumina, for example, using the fly ashes or other sources of alumina, but usually this amount is enough for receive to this rock reactivity. To use it in geopolymerization process, so we must improve the reactivity, especially the reactivity of silica, and we may applied some techniques to do it. There is the thermal techniques, as I mentioned before, it is the calcination. We may also apply this mechanical techniques, and this mechanical are considered as the most effective according the using energy. We have also some kind of modern techniques, some things like microwave activation, but they do not find the application of the huge scale. You have this just some photography, this material. As you see, there is quite fine powder before this activation process. It is this is something that we prepare these materials, and actually during the preparation we also milling and grinding it. So it is the same process preparation as also the activation, this kind of sources. We would like to also use, we may also use this different kind of mine tilings. As you see, the investigation was made on copper, tungsten magnetite tiling, iron tiling, and also others. We may also use some kind of waste that we may also account to this production, this industrial production. There is the waste that we create during, for example, aluminum process production. This so-called red mud, it was also successfully used for geopolymerization technology. The advantages of using this raw material, there is a saving natural sources. There is also using the waste that we have locally, so we have generally low amount this waste. We eliminate the risk for this soil and water when we use this kind of waste, because we have no problem with agglomeration, this kind of waste, and we use it for this product. Some kind of disadvantages could be, is mainly connected with the compositions materials that from some kind of mine activity could include some potentially hazardous elements or potentially some kind of toxic elements. Because of that, before starting the production, we must analyze carefully our sources according to this potentially dangerous elements. And the next step is just consideration if we have opportunity to immobilize it. As I mentioned, some kind of elements could be successfully immobilized in geopolymers, and according to investigation, this immobilization is better than other kind of materials, for example, concrete, including using it during the immobilization waste from nuclear power station. And the last group of these materials, there is general waste and some kind of recycling product. This one that the investigation are made very intensively last few years. There is a construction and demolition waste. There is a lot of projects that show that this material is possible to use as a raw material for geopolymerization. But the main problem, this construction and demolition waste, is that actually must be analyzed locally. Because this is because we use for construction purposes usually the local material, and this construction waste will be different in different countries and also in different areas. including some kind of product that will be not exist in some countries, for example, as mineral wool. That is some kind of popular in West Europe when we have this climate a little bit harsh. And it is not popular in South Europe or in this countries with more hot climate, because just the isolation, it's not needed for that. And we have also this different sources of these waste materials. The easiest one to use for this production of the huge scale is a glass powder from waste glass, because it is quite repetitive. And as I said, it is also, there are also different possibilities. And shortly about this selection of the raw materials, this selection of the raw materials when we would like to do it properly, we have some steps. First, we should consider the chemical composition, and for us is important also this chemical composition as elements, as also oxygens, to confirm that we have a proper amount of silica and alumina, and alternatively we may consider to some additives that we fill in this gap. And also the important is to find if we have any toxic or hazardous elements, because the existence in material, this kind of elements, it will be quite problematic if we would like to apply this raw material as a for the production of the product for this construction industry. The next, there are physical properties that the features of the future products will be also depend for this physical properties, including density, including index of pozzolanian activity, so how reactive it is, and also with the size and dimension of grains, because there is something like optimal range of these grains, something like 45 micrometers. That is supportive for our production. We have also the mineralogical composition. This mineralogical composition is important because of the confirmation this amorphous phase in the materials, because if we have less crystal phase and more amorphous phase, this is the main difference between kaolin and metacholine I spoke before. We have the better products and we have a higher reactivity. So XRD investigation are quite important in this point of view. FTIR just confirms us the amount of the bonding. It is not such important in this point of view of practical application. We have also some kind of microstructure investigation, especially the interesting for us is the shape of particles. If we have the more spherical particles, we just need less liquid to have a proper paste from the production, and the final product probably will be less, will be more resistant for the process such as efflorescence that could be that could appear in these geopolymer materials. And to conclude, the important case is using the local sources for this production. It is advantageous in this ecological point of view, but also is cost effective. And these raw materials that we have locally, the first we should identify what we have, and secondly we should to investigate if they are the proper sources for production, and based on it we may just design the product that will be connected, that will be according to this sustainable development policy, and they will be also innovative and environmental friendly. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any question, it will be my pleasure to answer it. You have also my address on the slide.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for your valuable insights about geopolymers. And one of the participants, he raised a question about which type of fly ash shoots well for geopolymer concrete in terms of mechanical properties, either class C or class F, and why? What is the reason?
Actually, on the literature, there are the successfully implementation both of this class for geopolymerization process. As I mentioned, this class C fly ashes were used for the geopolymerization, and even sometimes they give the better mechanical properties. But the problem is if we try to apply this material for a long time, and they could be not resistant for environmental conditions. So but we may observe actually this reaction in the laboratory. If something bonding us very quickly, the first problem is with the production, because if something bonding very quickly, we may have problems with receive the aesthetic product from that material. And the next problem could be with this longer use. So the mechanical properties are not one the factor. And also from this fly ash F, this geopolymers with good mechanical properties, even up to 100 megapascal, it is a lot of, were received. And the second question.
In fact, geopolymer composites reducing greenhouse emissions around 4 to 8 times, but why still people is having hesitation to switch over to the same? Your insights, please, ma'am. There is a question posted by the participant.
Some kind of problem is, according to the literature, we may just find different kind of estimation of it, as I even show in this table. It depends something like how we calculate it. And it is also depend on this transportation cost I mentioned, because it doesn't make sense using for the production, the building materials, some kind of materials that we have, that we must deliver from huge distance, because in this case, this greenhouse emission, it will be also connected with the cost of transportation. And also what I mentioned, it is this alkali activation process. If we have the local sources as a rice husk that we may use to replace some kind of this substances, also this greenhouse emission will be lower than if we use only this alkali solution, especially sodium silicate is problematic.
Thank you, madam. These are all the questions arrived in our chat box. Now over to Naganathan, sir. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone have a question you have on the presentation, my email, please do not hesitate, wrote on it.
Sure, madam. Thank you. Naganathan,
Thank you.
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm on. Thank you, sir. First, I would like to thank particularly to Dr. Kinga Korniejenko for sharing his valuable ideas on materials and selection of materials. And we people really privileged to listen to you, and we are very happy to. With these simple ideas, we would like to thank you once again for your valuable input today. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Right. Further information to the participants. Right. Thank you all. We have come to the conclusion for the inauguration. Now, we would like to thank everyone from the organizing committee of this conference. To continue further, for invited talk and paper presentation, kindly follow the program schedule which has been shared to you all through your mail ID and WhatsApp. Kindly look at. Thank you. Thank you once again for all.
Dear participants, the feedback link is posted in the chat box. Kindly give your valuable feedback.